Broadcasting from Salisbury University campus, this is WSDL Ocean City, NPR News Talk 90.7. Putting Delmarva first. Stay tuned for Delmarva Today with your host, Don Rush.
U.S. Justice Department's office to obtain legal representation for low-income people is reported to be quietly shutting down, and what is known as pro bono work may be more important than ever. Welcome to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush. Here in Salisbury, a new office is being opened up by Midshore Pro Bono, which provides legal services for those who cannot afford the high-priced lawyer. Back in 2015, they partnered with senior centers to offer legal help to low-income seniors, and that led them to open up an office here in Wicomico County. In our studio this morning is Sandy Brown. She's the Executive Director of Midshore Pro Bono, and also Juanita Sutton, who is the intake paralegal. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So, well, Sandy, tell me a little bit about the history. I mean, what got you involved in deciding to go pro bono?
Oh, well, gosh, that's a tough question. I've been doing this job for 10 years. Midshore Pro Bono was founded in 2005 as a local, regional nonprofit to serve low-income folks with free legal services. And actually it was created out of a Maryland rule for lawyers to have local pro bono committees to increase access to justice to people who can't afford attorneys for civil legal matters. Because of course in a criminal matter you have a public defender, but if you have a divorce, custody, or foreclosure and you can't afford an attorney, there were no resources. So it's kind of like a push towards civil Gideon, so civil right to counsel. So Midshore Pro Bono was created by some judges and lawyers to meet the need on the Eastern Shore, and it was initially, we were based in the 5 counties. Those were the 5 counties that we were serving: Kent, Caroline, Talbot, Queen Anne's, and Dorchester. And over the 10 years that I've been the director, we've just started realizing that we needed to bring some services to the lower shore counties. And we were able to do that through a grant, through a very generous grant, through a foundation, the Leonard and Helen Stillman Foundation, which saw the need for senior citizens down here on the lower shore and wanted to help us expand our services. So through that, we are opening up our office next month.
There you go.
It's crazy.
What personally attracts you to pro bono work? I mean, how does you think that differs from, say, the regular attorney you might find in downtown Salisbury?
Well, so here's an interesting thing. I'm not an attorney.
Okay.
I play one on TV. and on the radio.
Right.
So essentially, I found this job. I was in the higher education industry and working in financial aid. So I was helping people who couldn't afford to go to college, worked at Washington College, and worked for student loan companies and guarantee agencies, and found myself unemployed in 2008, and Midshore Pro Bono was looking for an executive director. So I said, well, it's kind of the same, financial aid, legal services. So I've been doing it ever since. And I'm not originally from the Eastern Shore. I'm from New York, but I've been living here since '93. And I also feel that the Eastern Shore is kind of left out, right? Not a lot of resources. We don't have public transportation. We have barriers to so many things and so many regular resources that you have in urban areas. And as I started to embrace this job and realized what it really was about, it kind of became a mission of my own to advocate for low-income people to have the same access that somebody else would have. The other sad thing is the law is so complicated. That's why lawyers go to law school. It's why doctors go to medical school. And the idea that lawyers should give back and do pro bono work is a hard sell. And we need to advocate for the people who truly need to fix their lives and fix their problems through the help of legal assistance and cannot afford it. And that is a huge challenge, especially on the Eastern Shore, because we don't have a ton of attorneys here. And we don't have a ton of attorneys who can do or will do pro bono work. So it's my mission.
Well, as a matter of fact, now, do you personally get satisfaction of doing this work for people who find themselves in the kind of straits that people often do, where they may be poor, they may be facing eviction, or they may be facing some civil action?
Yep.
I mean, does that
Well, helping people has always been a great thing. I feel like I've just helped people all along. I was camp counselor when I was a kid. I think I just have that helping quality. I think that's what Juanita also brings to the table here is I think there it's personally satisfying, it's personally frustrating, and sometimes I feel like if I don't do something, who's going to do it, right? And so you have to find ways to attract attorneys to do this work. You also have to find ways to empower clients to better their lives and pursue something that might be challenging or complex or scary or terrifying. And I have a great staff, and we work with people who are at the end of their ropes, who are desperate, who are panicked, who don't know what to do, and they still don't know about us. And so part of the reason why we're down here is we know there is a large low-income population in the Lower Shore, and we want them to know that there's help. So.
Well, Anita, what drew you to take the job, as it were, to this kind of organization?
Well, I did an internship with Midshore Pro Bono over the summer, and really from the interview, I was drawn to the project because I realized that there was a need. It was something I could really be excited about doing, helping people to get help with things that they probably wouldn't be able to get help otherwise. For instance, seniors who are, it's complicated for them to sit down and try to figure out how to do their will or how to do their advanced medical directive or just to have financial power of attorney or whatever it is they like to accomplish. And this program was one where we have clinics that go out to the elder community centers, put on a clinic where the attorney explains what their options are, actually have them sit down and discuss what they would like to, achieve. And then when they come back, they can have their documents furnished and signed and ready to go. They're legal and actionable the day they leave the second appointment. So I thought that was pretty, exciting that they could have that result. And I saw a sense of, that the people really appreciated what was done for them. They, probably would have never, gone and gotten this done on their own. But once they got their paperwork done, they were satisfied. I saw a sense of relief with many of them, and I saw a sense of, yes, I got that taken care of. And they may never have been able to do that. And these are people who, when you say a will to them, they think you're talking about someone with a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But these are things that they could take care of. Maybe it's just their house, who they want their house to go to. So all these things, they're legal matters, but they need help with them. So we're there to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But, by the way, do you have any sense, Sandy, as to how many low-income people who take advantage or who, are in need of legal help, and then who are able to take advantage of something like...
So Wicomico, if you want to just talk about Wicomico County. Sure. So there are about 117,000 people in just Wicomico County. In the 5 counties, just to give you a comparison, so the 5 original counties that we work with, there's 177,000. So we're going to double the amount of people that we could potentially reach. And about 18% of Wicomico County residents live in poverty. I don't know if you know that. So we just understood from the requests that we were getting that it was important for us to have some type of a presence. There are other legal services providers. There are organizations like Maryland Volunteer Lawyer Service that's based in Baltimore, and there's the Legal Aid Bureau and self-help centers. But I think our model works really well. We really want to be a community-based provider. That's why we have Juanita here. People will be able to walk into our office after March 1st.
Right.
3 days a week. We're starting off slow just to see what it is that we need and build our resources. We're a nonprofit. We don't have a ton of money. We have no fee for service. We charge absolutely nothing for all of our services. There is a $25 application fee. We waive that 90% of the time. So we feel that we joined the Chamber of Commerce. As you know, Kathy's been fantastic because she said, oh my gosh, there's a need here. We went to the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore. They said, sure, we'll give you a small grant because there's a need here. So there's so many different issues, and what we do is really take a wraparound, holistic view of a client who comes in. They may come in and think they need a will, power of attorney, advanced medical directive if they're a senior, but they might have a house in foreclosure, or they may have some consumer debt. credit card debt that they can't deal with. And our staff will make sure that they get all those things taken care of. And of course, we're going to need to start to recruit some attorneys who are willing to do this for free. Oops, we forgot to mention that. Sorry.
So how do you make the outreach? How do you make people aware, particularly low-income people, aware that this service is available in the first place? I mean, one of the things I've run across in terms of like it's services for people poor people is it's complicated, particularly if you talk about homeless people. It's like there's a whole vast array of agencies, and they have no idea what's available and where to go and when to go. How do you outreach to make sure that people know that this service is available?
Well, so for 10 years I have been doing nothing but outreach, and it takes a certain kind of personality. My husband calls me a shameless self-promoter. I'm fine with that, and Juanita will be one too. We will teach her how to be one. But I think it's just a matter of getting out there, coming on the radio, talking to you. You might tell somebody. Kathy's like, oh my God, I totally get what you do. She's going to tell somebody. We join the Chamber of Commerce. We'll go to events. We go to senior centers.
Yes, the senior centers, that was part of my internship. I visited the senior centers and talked with the directors and managers there and really asked for their feedback as to what their clients might need in the way of legal services. And there was a positive response. Most of them were agreeable to us putting on legal clinics at their facilities. That makes it easy for the clients to get there, and they can take in the information they need. They can take the paperwork home. They can have a family member help them with it, and then when they come back, they can be ready to execute their documents. So I think it works very, very well by having us go into the community and go to the place where the people are, rather than hoping that they somehow find out and show up.
Yeah, so because Midshore Pro Bono is not an easy name. It doesn't roll off the tongue. It also doesn't explain a lot to what we do. We're trying to rebrand ourselves a little bit. We really consider ourselves a legal resource network because we network all of the time. Because someone might come in the door and they might not be able to pay their utility bill, or they might not have food, and we're going to find the local food bank here, and we keep a list of resources in our office at all time just because we want to make sure people have access to everything. Transportation, it's the worst. There's just not a lot of public transportation, so we feel that there might be some. Delmarva Community Services run some buses here and there, but to the extent that we can educate ourselves about all the resources that are around, more and more it will get out there. We're talking with Salisbury University. We're going to probably get some interns over the summer, over the next couple of years, and we're just going to keep doing what we're doing and talking to people.
How speaking of seniors, obviously we've got this sort of the grain, by the way, of the Eastern Shores. They like to say more and more people, whether they move here or they just simply have been gotten old here, as it were.
Yeah.
How serious is that a problem in terms of that set of folks needing this kind of assistance? Because they've worked all of their lives, and most people accumulate some kind of assets, but there's a chunk of seniors that don't.
There's a huge chunk of seniors living in poverty on the Eastern Shore. And why we started this program was actually a volunteer lawyer had his 96-year-old mother who was going into an assisted living facility, and apparently was very complex, and they had assets. And he sat down in my office. He said, I can't even imagine what poor people have to deal with, because if somebody becomes incompetent, and again, I'm not a lawyer, if someone is incompetent and they can't manage their affairs, they can't write checks anymore, they can't manage their Social Security that's coming in, and they did not appoint somebody to take care of that, give somebody a power of attorney to do that, we are then in a guardianship situation, which is oftentimes expensive, contested litigation. And that, what happens to those people? That is not, and they get taken advantage of. That you hear that all the time, that seniors have it's niece or a nephew or a child who has their best interest in heart, who is not taking care of them, taking their Social Security money. So we're trying it's a preventative program, and we're really trying to prevent a guardianship from happening. So if we prepare all of these documents for them and let them know that they are taken care of, even advanced medical directives, food and hydration. What happens to me if something terrible happens and you didn't assign somebody to make that decision for you? we help them think about it. It's a difficult conversation to have. But if we partner with the senior centers and they feel the same way, we also have partnership with hospice up in Talbot County. That probably will be one of the next phone calls that we make down here, is see what the local hospice is doing. Can we help make sure that folks that are in there have all their ducks in a row?
The other big issue that's hit us since 2008 has been foreclosures. What have you seen and how? I mean, I've heard stories in newspaper and news reports about, banks foreclosing, and they get these notices, and then suddenly they no longer have a home. What have you seen, particularly with this 10-year period, which seems to really sort of span that
That's exactly
that
right.
downturn?
So statewide, back in about 2008, 2010, the chief judge of the state, Chief Judge Bell, knew that mortgage foreclosures were a huge problem in the state of Maryland. Right now, Maryland is still number 2 at highest foreclosures. Is that crazy? And we have a lot of hot pockets on the Eastern Shore for foreclosures. Aside Prince George's County, I think, is like the highest. And there's a different kind of foreclosure. There's people who had big, huge homes, $700,000 home, were underwater, or people who lost their jobs, watermen, farmers lost jobs, lost their ability, medical bills prevented them from being able to make their foreclosure. So we've been a part of a statewide foreclosure pro bono prevention project since 2010. We still offer foreclosure services. We have an excellent team of experts and lawyers, and our foreclosure project manager is extremely helpful and takes care of our clients from soup to nuts. The problem is with foreclosure is people are calling us when their house is going up for sale. They are not calling us when they're just late on their mortgage. Why? Because they're ashamed, embarrassed, paralyzed, worried, scared. The problem with legal services in a low-income community is that they're usually terrified, and they don't understand that their problem is maybe legal. They see foreclosure as a financial problem. They see a family law matter as an emotional problem, and they don't have a framework for the law, and they don't think it's attainable, and they don't think that they have access to it. So we have so many barriers to getting our services out to folks, but foreclosure remains probably our number 2 case. Family law is number 1, highest percentage of cases that we have. I'll tell you, these elder law cases, though, are probably going to eclipse foreclosure and family law, I'd say probably by the end of the year. There are 7 senior centers in Wicomico County. And
we visited each of them to get feedback, to find out what their needs are. And even now, up and running, we just did a legal clinic with Shore Up with their grandparent program, foster grandparent program, and they had a turnout of, I believe, 55. And out of that, I believe 20 cases were resolved, with ones either getting advanced medical directives or wills or, financial power of attorney or whatever the case may be. So we know that that's an effective model to go out, let people know the services are available. Because again, will we have met these people someplace else? Probably not. But by being there and helping them to see what their options are, they could take advantage of it. And there's a measure of empowerment, knowing that you can take care of your legal matter, and it's not going to cost you money to do so, because most people don't have the kind of resources to be able to afford it. So that's a key factor in why Midshore Pro Bono is expanding so rapidly, is because people do need it. They just need to know that it's there, and then they can take advantage of it.
It's a hard sell. It's a hard sell to lawyers to do the work. It's a hard sell to funders to fund us, because estate planning, why would we? But that's what it's called. But if you are poor, you still have, when somebody passes away, you still have to open an estate, is what it's called. So we have to educate funders and local people who might want to donate to this program, and it's hard. It's hard work.
Well, in terms of donations, I mean, is there any kind of funding that comes from the state, or are you or what's the percentage? As it were, as opposed to
I don't even want to talk about the percentage.
Right.
We do have some state funding from from the judiciary, from the administrative office of the courts, and most of our funding is project specific. So, for example, the Stillman Foundation funds specifically the Elder Law Project, and we do have some general funding from the Maryland Legal Services Corporation that funds the other 33 legal services programs throughout the state. What we are lacking is local resources, local funding, people in the community that we're serving, seeing that we are helping build up the fabric of this community.
Why do you think that is?
Because they don't understand what we do.
Oh, do you think it's that they don't understand what you do, or do you think they don't know that there's a problem?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's when you hear Midshore Pro Bono, they think we're a lawyer program. Why would I give money to a lawyer program? We're asking lawyers to do this work for free, and they're doing it for free. We are asking to support the program so Juanita and my staff and all of the programs that we run can be sustained so that we can go out into the community in these little pockets all over. We have to cover more than 2,600 square miles. It's a large, rural, challenging community to cover, and we're helping people save their homes, get jobs, become employed. One of my big appeals will be down here. It would be to anyone who's employing somebody. Hang up one of our signs in your lunchroom, because maybe you have employees who are missing work because of family law matters, custody matters. They're worried about foreclosure. Maybe you can't hire enough people because their record needs to be expunged. Let us expunge your record so you can be gainfully employed and be a better member of society. Let us help these clients who feel downtrodden, get some sense of accomplishment and empowerment so that they can become better members of this community and therefore become better employees, right? So we serve a very invisible population. People are not going to go to their bosses and saying, I'm going through this terrible divorce, that's why I'm so late, or I have terrible credit card debt. There are so many other barriers to becoming a whole, just having a regular life. And
by the way,
illegal.
You mentioned how serious is something like debt in general, and particularly credit card debt, and how do you deal with that, or you guys?
Well, again, it's just a matter of outreach and education to clients. We have a great consumer protection program for clients who are facing third-party debt buyer cases. So, did you watch the movie The Big Short? It makes me cry every time I think about that movie. But that happened, and so here are a lot of people who are facing credit card debt. A lot of it can be dismissed. We have a very good bankruptcy program where people can get bankruptcy assistance for free. We do bankruptcy clinics. We have, it's just a matter of getting it out to the public that here are all the things that we offer, and how do we offer that? How do we concisely say it and frame it in a way that somebody's going to say, oh, I'm gonna call them.
Juanita, so when somebody comes in, and you're the intake paralegal, as they like to say, so if I have a problem or if I have a legal issue, what's the process? I mean, in terms of interacting with you, I'm assuming it obviously is different than any particular individual issue or case, but...
First of all, we'll let them know we are concerned about them, and we'll do a process where we take their information, find out what their legal issues actually are, explain to them that we have attorneys who will work for them to help them resolve their legal issue, and that's provided that they qualify, because obviously these are all income guidelines that they have to meet. But once they do that, we'll refer them to an attorney or to a legal clinic where they can get more information and get an appointment to settle their legal issue. Also, one of the things I think I'm going to enjoy doing is doing legal research for any cases that might need a little more than just the general thing for our attorneys, so that it won't be so much work for them to be able to provide the assistance that they need. I'll be able to do the background research for them, have it ready for them, so that they can act on the case when it comes before them, rather than consuming a lot of their time, because obviously time is a big factor in whether or not an attorney wants to help out or not. So that can be a big boost for them.
Well, we've been speaking with Sandy Brown. She's the executive director of Midshore Pro Bono, and also Juanita Sutton, who is the intake paralegal, about opening up offices, actually, in Salisbury. And we look forward to that and see how that works out.
Thank you so much.
And if I could just real quick, just
go right ahead.
Tell us what our address is: 212 West Main Street, which is in the Gallery Building, and on Salisbury's Downtown Plaza, on the third floor, Suite 302. Our telephone number is 410-829-0394. And our office hours will be from 10 to 3, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, starting March 1st. And we're looking forward to serving our community.
Well, I appreciate you guys stopping by
Thank you
and
so
chatting with
much.
us. This has been Delmarva Today. I'm Don Rush. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for watching Delmarva Today, a production of Delmarva Public Radio. Production and audio engineering by Chris Rank. Hosted by Don Rush. For podcasts, visit delmarvapublicradio.net or subscribe to the Delmarva Today podcast on iTunes. Delmarva Today can now be seen on Pack 14.